Yeah, hi everyone, welcome. It's nice to see a lot of people here. So welcome to the Traffic and Highways Committee. My name is Suzanne Cross and I'm currently the chair. And the first item of business that we have today is to elect a new chair. So I've made it public to councillors that I'm not standing for re-election. So I'd like to move on the first point of the agenda to elect a new chairman. We can take over this meeting. Do we have any nominations?
Councillor like Nick.
Great. You'd like to second it? Great. Any other nominations?
No one else wants.
Steve, you don't want to stand? I know we had a conversation and I was keen to get some fresh ideas and perspectives.
Well, as I said, in the long term, it's something that I would like to do, but partly because I haven't been involved as much as I'd like to be in the last 6 months. Those things, if there is a vice chairman position, I would quite like to have that position so I could sort of learn more about the ropes, how we deal with the borough and so forth.
That's something the new chair will think about. Okay, so we have one nomination, it seems.
Yeah.
So, all those in favour of Nick Fallow being new chair? Great, I think that's carried unanimously. Welcome, Nick. I didn't take my coat off. My apologies, I have to leave in half an hour. I've got a medical appointment, so I am not here for very long. But I'll pass over to Nick. In your case, all hands.
Okay, well, I'll just start off by just thanking you all for putting me in this position. And I'd like to thank Suzanne very much for all her hard work running this committee for the last 2 or 3 years.
Not that I'm counting.
And I think the things that she's managed to achieve are tremendous, really, in terms of, the very certain on things constantly steer away from the whole variety of other things. And I know she's going to continue to help us as her role as a borough councillor. And I hope she'll be very happy to sort of also,
Absolutely.
what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Are we going to appoint vice chairman?
Sorry, we're going to.
Are we going to appoint vice chairman?
I'm very happy to be appointed vice chairman.
It's not on the agenda, it's not on the agenda, so kind of.
All right, well, perhaps we can do that for the next meeting, we put it forward, but, we're certainly very happy to have a vice chair. I suspect there's going to be the odd meeting I can't attend, so it'd be useful to have a vice chair.
Yeah.
Okay, so usual stuff, all mobile devices supposed to be switched on. Yes, I'm probably the one most likely to have a phone dream. And though I don't know what's happening with the recording or whatever, we are potentially likely to be recorded. So all members of the public, you are likely to be recorded. So I hope that's okay. Are there any apologies for absence and declarations of interest?
We've got apologies from Mr. Hall,
Right.
and also Mr. Watson has now moved out of the area.
Okay, so item T8005 is approved the minutes of the last meeting, which I wasn't at. So, does anyone have any issues with the minutes of the last meeting?
Can I just raise an item, please? There were a couple of areas in there where it said that a resolution was unanimous and it wasn't unanimous, so we've taken out the word unanimous on both of those occasions. That's the only amendment we've made in the minutes.
Okay, so those of you who were there, are you happy with that amendment?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so can I have do we do a proposal on second of the minutes? Can I have a Well, I'll propose the minutes, but I don't want understand. The vote.
Okay,
I can, so.
No. Second, like, all those in favour of approving the minutes?
I'll abstain because I didn't have any. I'm sorry, I'll abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Right, I'm abstaining as well, so. But I'll sign those then. You sign the page.
That's all I think last week.
Okay, so the next item, 006, questions and representations from members of the public. So I believe that you are, any of you are entitled to speak now. You have a notional 3 minutes to speak. So do any of you want to speak? Particularly now, I mean, there may be opportunities to speak later on.
I do. I'm going to be hi. I'm a resident of Bray, and I wanted to bring kind of awareness and hopefully something ideas on how we can manage the speeding traffic on Bray High Street. I'm a resident, particularly on the part of the High Street that narrows down, and what we're noticing is cars particularly speed up in that narrow bit in the hope to cross it quickly, and I think that's causing quite a lot of concerns in terms of safety. We don't have a lot of footpath as well, so we're just stepping right onto the road. And I know Steve does try to slow traffic down and lost his cat recently. His two cats, they were run down that. So just looking for ideas on how we could go about getting the support of the police. The council, I believe, say it's not part of their jurisdiction. The neighbour has reached out to the council, and I haven't been, which is happy for me to read that, what they said. It's not under their jurisdiction. It's to do with the police, which is council, when you have emergency funds for repairing roads, etc.
Which part of the high street are you talking about?
The one that narrows down, which becomes the one.
The next one.
When you go across the bridge?
No, the fun.
It's right there. Past the bridge, then what?
Past the village hall, it narrows down, only one car can pass.
Oh, that I know.
So are you aware of the speed watch activity that this council does, and have you involved yourself with that? And do you have some statistics about the number of people?
Last year, but they were being done where the green is, which is much further down High Street towards the cricket club. It's the street. I don't think we've ever done a traffic watch or anything.
So we had, I'll speak.
Well, I think, I mean, that's useful bit of information. I see no reason why we couldn't do some speed watch activity there, which would provide us with the evidence to then actually move something forward to you. But probably Joanna, I don't know, you're in that, you're a Bray parish councillor, you can perhaps liaise.
I'm not from the Bray Parish Council, I'm also volunteer for the speed watch.
Okay, all right.
And he knows way more about it.
So,
Well,
so Nick, could I suggest we cover it all a bit more in under community speed watch?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
there is an item on the agenda.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll try and get a bit more clarity on that generally.
Okay, all right.
That's all right.
Yeah, so, this is my immediate neighbour, as well. And
Right.
They live literally next to me, and we have spoken about it in the paper.
Okay, well,
But just gonna say that,
well,
I have presented the paper.
Leo,
The council.
That's the stretch of road which is one way anyway.
yeah, what is one?
Yeah,
It's one lane.
It's not a single part.
I know. But one lane, that's right, so.
Well,
The problem with a giveaway system like that, right away on the one hand, there's always going to be occasional confrontation, and it works, but it's not ideal. If you're coming into Bray from the throwaway, I can't remember the name of the road now, but otherwise often a car will appear out of there. They turn left, not realising that somebody's coming that way, and that can cause a problem. The setup isn't ideal to my mind, and it can do with slight improvement, not quite sure what. But I think you're always going to get problems when it's left to people to be reasonable. Some are and some aren't.
Let's discuss it in more detail at the section on speed watch. Sorry.
Yes, while I'm here, could I see you share that email if it's not, you know, so we can see what's been said by the council, because as a borough councillor, I can always take it back to the council and with conversation at this meeting. Yes, with everyone here, that would be really useful.
Okay.
Thank you.
As you're acting as a member of the public, so you're entitled to a 3 minute short if you want to say something.
Yeah, so obviously I'll be talking about the updates on the community speed watch, but I guess that's the only time I can speak, so. Of course, I'm a member of the Bray community speed watch, I'm also a Bray resident. Now the challenge I have seen is that we've done a lot of speed watch last year and the year before. And the statistics are quite problematic. In some of the sessions, more than 50% of cars have been speeding over the speed limit, over the threshold, which is the 5 miles over 20 miles. So the numbers are quite staggering. The team is very much involved that would like to run more of those sessions. Unfortunately, so far, since 29th of April 24, year before, we couldn't run any. And unfortunately, number of attempts have been done in order to run a session like this, but we couldn't do any of those sessions.
So why couldn't you do them?
So I believe that the initial coordination has been done by a member of the public, by Claire.
Claire Stewart.
Claire Stewart, yes. So ultimately, we have no access to the kit, we have no access to run the sessions. I'm personally trained on both the staffing device as well as the speed gun. So we could run the sessions. The volunteers are there to run those sessions, but we are unable to get.
Okay, right. Well, I know that the plan is for the parish to take control of the kit. Claire Stewart Adams has done a wonderful job in terms of getting it all getting going. But I have seen an email from her which I may want to discuss with people, but basically she's clearly upset by some issues that the council has done, but I think she acknowledges that she can only do things at working hours, outside working hours, and obviously a lot of this is done by volunteers. It makes sense for us to do traffic watching, in the mornings or the early evening, sort of, it doesn't, someone who's working is not going to be the best person to do this. But the idea is that we take back control of the kit equipment to be kept by the parish office. Claire hopefully will still manage to do some training and help for us. But that, as I understand it, is the plan. So hopefully that will resolve some of your issues, because it would be the parish office that you contact when you want to do it.
I believe all it requires the equipment. As long as the equipment is available, I think the volunteers is not the issue, and the willingness to run all sessions there. And if it is required, someone to coordinate it, I'm more than happy to volunteer as a coordinator.
Thank you.
I don't want to take the equipment. I think the equipment should stay with the council, but of course we can manage the pickups and drop-offs.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a controversial statement or suggestion that I've made before. Part of the problem with Through the Throat is that people coming from Maidenhead have right of way, and you can't see them. The reason you can't see them is because of the 2 parking spaces which are outside the shops. Forces the traffic over, and you can't see them. So I've suggested this before, and one previous councillor, who is no longer here, is very vehement in his anti-stance. So, as Chris is not here anymore, perhaps people could think about doing away with those 2 parking spaces. Suggestion.
Well, can we again take that on a little bit later on when we perhaps talk about the specific speed walk activity that's going on.
Chairman, just one thing on that. I'm going to talk about something else in a second. We come through with our tractors. We could come through, turn into Mill Lane, but that would cause even bigger problems. And probably you see what we all do, we go past the old people's home and use that gate before the bridge to access all of that block of land and all the Mill Lane block of land. We used to use Mill Lane a great deal, but we found that was too controversial with tractors and turned that corner by Bowler's shop. Those who can go to Bowler's shop. So we do continue to go because we can't come over the bridge the other way because of the weight limit. But when we're coming and taking vegetables in and out, we do use that access by the hospital there, which we will continue to do. That is what I want to talk about.
No, right. Well, if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, now's the time to do it.
Right. HGVs on the south part of this parish. I think everybody drives around with blinkers on. The Margate fully loaded HGV is coming down the Drift Road, the Forest Green Road, the A330. The borough is doing nothing and the police are doing nothing about stopping them going to all these illegal landfill sites. One of the illegal landfill sites, you may or may not know, is currently on the market. The one just past Potter's Yard on the Drift Road. The company has gone bust and in bankruptcy, Savills are selling that site, which is Buck Farm, which this borough council believed they were giving planning permission for polo pitches. And that's been a license. It is a bigger problem as my neighbouring next door to me on the Drift Road. The Drift Road, many of you might have read my article I wrote for a GAFCA in the parish just recently. Drift Road just had grass growing up the middle of it. It now has 60-mile-an-hour HGVs passing on Drift Road. And similarly, for those of you who know the Oakford Dream Road, we really must press to do more. That site is now closed on the Drift Road, but they're now going into Binfield. All these lorries coming off the M4 are coming through here up Degree to get to Binfield. And nobody is doing anything about those vehicles. The other thing is we all, as ratepayers, are paying for the breakup of the roads. If you go up the Drift Road, you'll see continuously at the roundabout, that road's closed. And the reason it's closed is because it keeps breaking up the water main under the main road beyond Bird Hills. So you all, as ratepayers, we're all paying for that inadequacy of enforcement. And I think it's time something was done with these roads through here. I accept we have a major issue with the 330 and the tight points on the 330 by where Leo lives. But traffic is trying to get to Frankfurt. And years ago, when we sat and tried to do the neighbourhood plan, which I was involved with, we all drew a lovely line the other side of the back of Hollyport to take traffic away from Hollyport. And we never had the support for it.
No.
So something longer term must be done.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, as you say, it's been an ongoing problem. I think at GAFCA, we have people taking photographs of the lorries. And so there's quite a lot of evidence that's built up of the lorries. And I think you were saying on one occasion that you know some of the lorries because they're so regular. I don't know what the best way of doing this, but obviously we've got to try and do something and get a little lever and push the council into doing a bit more to try and get some sort of enforcement that can go. Okay, a few questions, so right, we'll stop.
So just to help here, we've already raised this from doing our speed watch on Ascot Road. And with the council, and it's not to do with the council, it's the police, the enforcers of HGVs. Nothing to do with the council. But as you mentioned, neighbourhood plan, I can advise you that actually we started looking at it. And what we will be doing is hopefully in the new year, obviously we've taken what's already there, and we will be expanding on it because it wasn't enough. That's why didn't go further, and we'll be expanding. And the idea being is in the new year, we'll be asking for residents and councillors to get involved with their specific interests, and obviously highways, and to take it forward so we can go out to consultation furthermore. Isn't it? That's what we're planning, that's what we're doing at the moment.
I mean, unfortunately, the neighbourhood plan, last time, you know, we put quite a lot of information about traffic.
Yeah.
And, you know, traffic was deemed to be not a planning issue, and we were told to take it all out. So we've got to be very careful how we apply or put our questions and concerns about traffic.
It's not just planning though, for neighbourhood plan, it's the plan for the neighbourhood. So we will be looking to work.
The chairman, the amount of traffic that's trying to access from Binfield, Warfield through this parish has grown colossally in the period of since that. So
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Leo.
We must all agree quite, basically with what it says. That was one of the main reasons for lack of, proper roads for this stuff. It was why the ITV studios turned out. So you have the evidence there.
You mean the speed limit? Okay.
It ain't gonna be easy because you've got houses in the way.
But there are other issues involved which are also really beyond almost everyone's control. And one of them is that, I don't know if you drive from the M3 junction at the Bagshot corner, Waze and maps, and I assume other satellites are directing traffic not to go down the trunk roads, but to come round to Legoland and down Drift Road, and quite often through this junction here and through the Fifield Village. Now, how we manage to control that, I think it's going to need a lot of sort of creative thinking to find.
Not with that, you can ask Google. Google, you can actually request it because Google's up different things, because I'm going to look at doing it for Hollyport, the Gascot Road. So once I find out how, Steve, I can let people know. And then, I'm sure Marek knows more.
Well, sort of, maybe state the obvious in a way, but there is a missing link between the M3 and the M303.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately sort of ends abruptly, and there is no way to get it from M4 and M303 to M3. And that's unfortunately the reason why there is so much traffic and so much road. And in a way, it's kind of many.
Those lorries are not going further than that, they're only going to Binfield and walking on Drift Road. Should be able to be sold.
So Drift Road is right of access, and the others, they shouldn't be using it at all.
Okay. Sorry.
I wanted to follow on from Winnie because I planned on behalf of the residents of Byfield Oak Green to have a rant this morning. And if I can just go back to give you the history of this. And it's all to do with the lorries and the traffic and daily. It's not being addressed. So in 2015, when the weight restrictions introduced through Hollyport, all the heavy traffic immediately reverted to the Oakley Green Road and continued to do so. So we were completely inundated on a B road with considerable heavy traffic. We campaigned, and in February 2019, Councillor Dudley, interestingly, the meeting was held at the Brainwood First School, and he promised us a lorry ban and a reduction in the speed limit to 30 miles an hour. Over a year later, we did get the weight restriction, but as we all know, it's now. And there's nothing to do about it. The speed limit is still outstanding. There are 30-minute speed restrictions throughout Bray and Hollyport, and yet, in spite of the multiple hazards along our road, and I've explained all of them, I won't go into all of them now, And most notably that primary school. We have been told that we will never get a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, and we cannot understand why not. We could be given no tangible reason for that. We also have a dangerous crossing on the Oakley Green Road on a blind bend, and this could easily be rectified, and yet the highways officer leapt across the road and deemed it quite satisfactory and refused to acknowledge that there was a problem there. We could not possibly ask mothers and children to walk to Broad School and use that blind bend to cross the road. You'll know where it is.
Yeah.
And finally, the Holyport roundabout. During the time it took to undertake reconstruction, the traffic flow through Forest Green and Oakley Green roads has markedly increased. We've had 2 serious accidents at the Fifield Crossroads within the last few months, and we continue to have minor accidents at that point and all along the length of the Oakley Green Road, but they seem to go unreported. Thank goodness we have not yet suffered a fatality, and yet Holyport gets a new roundabout and we get the extra traffic. And I'd just like to quote some passages from a letter to Maidenhead Advertiser in August, which did question the need for this expensive project. Barry Giggins concluded that the accident rate at that junction was very low, and went on to say, a report in 2019 to identify the key infrastructure improvements needed did not include this roundabout. During my time at Berkshire County Council, the priorities on the A308 were the Fifield Road junction with Oakley Green, both with higher accident records than the Holyport roundabout. So, in short, the residents of Fifield and Oakley Green feel completely abandoned and neglected, and they don't know why. They're genuine concerns about the dangerous traffic whizzing through those villages with no attempt to do anything about it, and everything's just ignored and pushed under the carpet, and we don't deserve it, honestly.
I'd like to agree with what Barbara's just said. I was at that meeting with Councillor Dudley, and indeed, Councillor Dudley was so shocked with the speed limit outside the school there that he said it ought to be 20. Well, we said, could we have 30, please? We'll settle for 30. Nothing happened.
Nothing's happened since. And Councillor Hill continues to say, will not happen.
Okay, yeah.
On the Holyport roundabout, we bought 2 nails stopped it, completely unnecessary. At 1.3 to 4 million pounds, it was unnecessary, really doing. There was a very good engineer, the man you mentioned, Barry Higgins, an independent. He said, just what, you know, I don't know much about roundabouts, but all it is facilitating traffic. And it just working wasn't needed. But certain people in the borough insisted on it, and I know who they are. But the thing's built now, you know.
But they need the grant to do it, so surely the partial demolition of the Brayward Hall should be need enough to get a grant to do something about that junction.
Okay, well, let's Elaine.
So just a couple of things on the Holyport roundabout. That was from a grant from looking at the whole of the A308. So it goes obviously here and into Windsor and out Staines. It was looking at Failing Junction. And I'm not a technical person. Who am I to judge what's right and wrong? But they judged that's failing, and hence they got a grant for it. So that's that. Regarding the Holyport College, it's the same because it's 40 up to it. Then it goes down to 30, and then it's 40 after it. So why can't that be done? During
What we're talking about, they are preschool, you have 3 and 4 years old.
These are kids as well. I'm sure anyone would argue they're children. They're children. So the same thing, really. Why can't the same happen there? During school hours, you know, drop off and pick up. They do 30 miles an hour, which is what
To be honest, they should do 30 miles an hour the whole time. We have cyclists, we have horse riders, we have all sorts of issues on our road. We have most of the houses along our road have drives that are on a bend. If you actually try to get out of our road, it's hazardous. I mean, my drive's quite good. I'm on quite a straight bit, but if I look left, I've got few seconds to get out before something can come around the corner that I can't see. There are.
Okay, let's keep going. So you had a question.
What will actually, Leo, to be added to it by saying, I've only put roundabouts over now. I mean, if you want my personal opinion, I think many roundabouts should never be on rural A roads anyway, so there was a case for it. But the other thing is about to do with schools. The school on the Bray Road, in Oldfield and Bray, used to have lights when it was first, which is not long ago. There used to be a light that reduced the speed to 20. Now that was only there for a few weeks and then it seems to have disappeared. And that's another option which is clearly a possibility. So I don't see what, so that during school time, you reduce the speed, but to be fair, I think it probably should be a bit of a limit permanently. But if they're saying for whatever reason, perhaps some national guidance, some policy guidance, that they can't reduce it to 30, they could at least, or 20, it should be 20 for school. It should be, so it should be reduced to that time, and it should be enforced.
But to be honest, we cannot get rid of the lorries, so if we slow them down to 30, we give a sword fighting chance.
Okay, so I think this draws to a conclusion. Item 006, representations from the public. Roger, I know you've got a chance to speak later on. So now we have 007, which was to receive an update on highways matters, which I guess relates to this email from Suzanne. So basically, she's got on speed watch equipment, a section on the speed indicator devices, the SIDS, a whole section of various bits of alternative work. What I suggest I do, how many of you have actually seen the email from
What's the date of it, Nick?
Sorry?
What's the date of it?
It was 31st of October.
I've seen it.
Okay. Well,
I haven't seen it, Chairman.
no, right, well, I'll just read out quickly the two main items. So the speed watch equipment. So basically, she's saying, as communicated to Esther, who was a former clerk, earlier this year, the speed watch equipment stored in the parish office required additional user training and insurance for new users. Only the parish office can obtain quotes for these services, and this was asked for in May and again in July this year. The intention was to present this to the Transport and Highway Working Group for approval, to forward to the Finance Committee for capital expenditure as per the usual process. When I raised this again in July with the office, I've not had a response. And if further speed watch equipment is necessary, it needs to be followed up by the usual processes of capital spend. So I don't know, I wasn't at that meeting. Was there a request to try and get more speed watch equipment?
Shall we do that under speed watch? Or, I mean, it's
I
fine
don't know,
if you
okay.
just cut out all the speed watch. I just think it's probably better to leave it at speed watch for the moment.
Okay, so that, okay, yeah, Ken?
Let's just say that speed watch, it wasn't the equipment that seemed to be the problem, it was the lack of speed watch events happening.
Okay.
Why don't we get a photocopy of that, a photocopy for the people that haven't seen it?
Yeah.
It seems to be simple.
Well, it's 2 pages on quite a lot of stuff.
Well,
Um,
if Suzanne was our chairman who thought it was necessary, why don't we circulate it?
It's on Outlook, 21st of October. It's there to be seen.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
Email.
Oh, because you haven't got the,
well, let me read the bit that she's written about speed indicator devices.
too long to.
Read the whole thing, Chairman.
I can read it. So as she said, as previously mentioned in several teenage meetings, the parish office oversees the management of SIDS in collaboration with the third-party contractor, Simon Surveys. or Simone surveys to install and remove the devices. Any concerns raised by residents regarding potential SID locations are reviewed accordingly. Recent placements of new SIDs include the 308 post roundabout, where the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit I initiated is now enforced, Ascot Road near the Braywick roundabout, and Herne Drive, locations identified due to ongoing concerns. I also requested a SID for Ascot Road near Holycourt College, but unfortunately the necessary street furniture, street lights, traffic signs was not available, as stated by Simone surveys. It is important to note that the action from the last meeting appears to suggest placing SIDs outside the names of parish councillors, a priority which I have not previously endorsed. I have always advocated prioritising locations suggested by residents. So I don't know whether we need to get one of the SIDs near Holycourt College.
Point early on, but I assume we don't handle matters, and in that email, there is something else that I would like to share with everyone, so I came very late today. It says that 5-Hill Road and Oakley Green Road Junction, a proposed schematic for new road markings was presented by myself at the GovCat AGM this month and has received broad support. I am working with the highway scheme to implement these changes. So I have a question, my fellow councillors who have seen the schematics. No one. I have called Councillor Jeff Hill, who is lead member for traffic and highways, and he said he's working on it very hard. And here I am. Please share this with everyone. Here's the schematic. You can read, because as a parish councillor, it's important, I think, that we see that. He also confirmed he's working on that, and next to me, we had a meeting in the town hall, 2 of us. And I am just going to say, many people are concerned about this junction here, just outside the hall. And there will be changes, and you can see, this is why I printed it out, so everyone can have a copy. So I thought it would be nice, instead of sending those long emails, if we could just see what's going on. And this is what's going on from the road on.
Yeah, very
So I feel a bit worried. Very good. Thanks.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Question here, the question is, who's seen a schematic for the modification of this junction? I have, 2015, I think it's dated,
So I have an email from the officer.
but it's not this one.
And I have it here, and I'm happy to show it at the meeting. So it clearly explains how they came up with this schematic, why, and who is implementing that, and who's working on that project. So just so we clear. You don't think we should just have a look?
So I just wanted to clarify regarding SIDS. Any location regarding SIDS was agreed at the last meeting. And I think we need to review going forward where the SIDS are located. I think that was one of the things, to be fair, because it was a bit, I haven't heard of some of those other locations. I think we probably just need to do a reset on SIDS and agree where we want them to be, etc.
How many separate pieces of kit do we have?
I think there's 2 SIDS, isn't there?
I think there's 2 new ones and 2 old ones.
Yeah. We had 2 stolen.
No, the battery was stolen, didn't
No, that was back to stolen from the traffic lights. I thought we had the actual SIDS
Yeah, I
stolen
think-
down here.
it? Worth checking, I think there's, it was batteries not stolen from the SIDS.
So we potentially have 4.
At best, we've got 4.
Let's get that checked.
I don't think, and after the last meeting, I don't think Simone Services were that clear about where they had put them in the past, even.
I
Their information was like drawing teeth.
think we need to be clearer going forward, to be fair to our suppliers. I think we're going to put them somewhere. We need to have that information agreed by.
I'm saying, going forward.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, So the next item on the agenda was item 07, was to receive an update from the community speed watch groups. So,
I would like to say here, I recently got involved with Community Speed Watch for Hollywood Green, Ascot Road, due to collisions, beloved animals run over by the pond, etc., and people's residents' children hit by cars. And I'd first like to say that Claire has done a great job in starting this off. She has said she doesn't want to carry on going forward. And to be fair to her, I think it's better that the parish councillor does it. So I would like to say, I spoke to the police this morning to understand their view on Speed Watch, what they understood parish council's view was, etc. So according to them, we have use of 4 cameras. The tripod that's in the office, which we're all waiting to be trained on, and then 3. 2 of those are the parish councils. 1 is on loan from the police. Their view, and he agreed with me, that it should be managed by the office. It should be stored, obviously, on these devices at the moment are stored around people's houses, which makes it quite difficult. It should be stored by the parish office because 3 of those are parish assets. And it should not be allocated to a ward per se. It should be allocated to whoever raises a speed watch session. They come and pick up a camera, use it, bring it back when they're finished. That way it's fairer for everybody, because at the moment we've got 1 between myself and Roger using it for where we are in Hollyports, and the other 2 are for Oakley Green, and the tripod's not being used, which is not really very fair on assets. On Claire's comment regarding Manuel Green, that when I spoke to Lee, he hasn't actually collected that yet. And for those who don't think that Community Speed Watch works, he said that it's worked so well now that they're taking it back, they're not doing it anymore. So perhaps that's a thing for all of us to get going with this a bit more.
so just in a nutshell then, have we got some of these cameras still out?
Yes, they're all out, except for the tripod.
So should we ask for them all to be brought back in?
Yes, I think, because that way it's fair for all, it's fair to everyone. So you book a session, you come and pick it up from the office, you use it, you bring it back. Then that way, other people can book a session and use it too. Because at the moment it's in people's houses. I've got one in my house, I've got the police.
And the booking of the sessions would be.
No, that's done by coordinators. So I'm a coordinator, Roger is a coordinator. We can review, when I spoke to Lee, we can review who is and isn't a coordinator.
But surely the coordinator should be the parish office, because how can someone in Oakley Green who might want to do a speed watch campaign and got somebody in Bray who wants to do it, if they're going through their local coordinator, the other people aren't going to get a chance to.
But when you book it, you book the camera out. So if you want it for tomorrow and Bray's got it for tomorrow, you can't have it, basically.
But who will know that?
It's on the system, the coordinator who enters it. So perhaps there should be a coordinator for each area.
Right, but there's a common system.
Yes, police, managed by the police.
Right.
It's managed by the police. I'm very happy to go through it and I can show you it. It's actually quite simple once you get to know it. But it's all managed by the police. You have a list of all the cameras you can use. And obviously, if you go for a Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock and somebody else has got it, you can't have it. It's quite that simple. But we've got 4 cameras. It shouldn't really come to that.
Okay, so is it still reasonable to ask for the cameras to be brought back
Yeah,
here to the parish office? Yeah. Okay, so let's go to Roger, because I know you've got.
Yes.
When is the parish office open? If there's a session on a Saturday, Lorraine's got a session in the morning. She had to go back to the parish office and then I pick up the same box. Parish office not always open, may cause problems. That's all I'm saying. Not well against the principle.
But we've got 4 cameras.
Yeah.
We've got 4 cameras, Roger.
Uh-huh.
And at the moment, we're not using 4 cameras.
I really.
As we know, and we've discussed
So you
that.
think if you wanted for a Saturday morning, you could come pick it up on the Friday. You know, that sort of level of holding on to
Yeah.
it seemed perfectly reasonable to me.
Yeah.
How many groups are there now?
So there's one Bray, there was, there's,
Yeah.
Roger's got it in front of him.
There's Bray, there's Hollyport Road, there's Hollyport Green, and then everything is degree.
So there's one per group virtually, is that right?
Yes, so we should not,
So why can't each group keep one rather than going back to the office?
I can quickly answer that. So we have 3 handheld and 1 automatic one. An automatic one is quite different in how it operates, so that needs to go round.
The radio one is the usual one.
Yes, but there needs to be some way of exchanging them at needed.
the only thing is like Oakley Green have done it recently, they put 2 out in one day.
At the same time.
So that option is open to others as well, but it's not option if it's sitting in somebody's.
So how often you normally do?
Yeah, you can do though, the option is there, and we've talked about it. Yeah, it's actually quite a useful thing to do. We talked about on Ascot Road, both sides. We joked that on Thursday, that having a picture of me with a speaker on the Ascot Road, it's amazing how they slow down. But if you have them both sides, because one side new.
Sure, not disputing that, but as Roger said, if they kept the office, it's a sound idea, but it may not be quite so simple if you've got one to hand at home, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think at least initially, we should get them all back here. And so we've got, and then we know, the parish office knows who are the lead people and who then, if one is out, you know, who's taken it out and, you know, so we have a bit more tracking going on.
With the list of who's got one.
Roger. I've got results from all of the speed box sessions that have been held by all of the groups. Right. Central, I've got no results at all, because as far as this community speed box side run by the police is concerned, there's never been a session with the centre. So
Yes.
that's the standing.
So we had sessions.
We have sessions.
So nobody's put the results onto the speed box session.
That's my question.
Okay, well, let's let Ken sort of talk about.
My question is that, is all this data going to be in one place,
Yes,
accessible to Bray Parish?
yes.
Well, Roger says it isn't.
If it's not on there, if somebody has to enter it in. If it's not entered
Well,
on
we
there,
should
it's
learn,
not
we
there.
should learn from the holes in the system.
Yeah.
And the hole in the system is that we've had tripod events and no data logged.
So somebody hasn't.
So let's fill that hole, make sure we fill that hole up.
I don't know why the session wasn't put on to speed watch before it took place.
Do we know who ran that session?
Yes. Yeah, but says can you last enter on when it was correct?
No, it's too late. You have 48 hours to put it in the system. It's too late. Can I finally, please?
How long ago was that?
Certainly before 29th of April 2024.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Can I
No, well, it's all history.
have my thing?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to speak from the heart of Bray, because Bray, before 29th of April 2024, had 16 sessions in a year. And these are not all our sessions. We had more sessions, some of them were never registered. Some of them happened and were never filled, and that breaks my heart. Because I'm one of the people who stands alongside the street for an hour, trying to memorize everything, learning how to, you know, car makes and models, and then it's up to coordinator.
and that person has 24 hours to put that in the system. If that doesn't happen, that's really disrespecting volunteers. That session should not happen then, if no one had time to put it in. Since 29th of April 2024, we have not had even a single session, and I'm on the WhatsApp group, and I have seen all the pleas and requests for sessions. And the answer was always yes, 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 and then nothing happened. And we were told we cannot have a session without the permission of a coordinator.
Sorry.
I have permission of a coordinator. Yes, we can just.
So who is the break coordinator?
Because I'm going to be accused of it.
Well, I'll say.
Ask me a question and I'll tell you.
So
Well, who is the break?
recently,
Fair, okay, so.
recently, if I go to the same chat,
In office.
in August, there are people asking, saying, look, we're ready, we could have 2 sessions at once, that's so many volunteers. There were volunteers standing down in protest, just to say, look, we don't.
Okay, so Joanna, would you be prepared to be the break coordinator?
I would point to someone else who spent hours when I will declare it's my husband, I have seen him not sleeping to make sure we have the right make, model and registration number, and that data never shown on the system. So if I can suggest someone for Briarwood, it can be anyone else from this group. You just be desperate. We recently had a Halloween. We had 120 children on the highway. And we've seen a cars doing what no car should be ever doing in Bray, let alone. It was terrifying. And what we lost really is not that we wanted to have session. What we wanted to have is data, because no one knows what's going on, and there is no way of.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's why logging in's got to be done.
So Nick,
The fastest car in Bray that we tracked was 43 miles an hour.
Oh, no.
52 miles per hour, and I remember, because I remembered his registration, because he was talking. So I don't somehow.
Let's you said, I'll take offline, but I think it'd be better if your husband then took it. As the coordinator, maybe you nominally then get your husband to do it, because I think if we had Claire trying to do it, she's only able to do it, in the evenings or whatever, it's probably not gonna work.
I've never
Nick, can I help here? Sorry, can I just help here? So I've spent quite a lot of time since I became coordinator for our group, trying to find out what's going on and where the challenges are. So thanks to Roger's very good training, I've only got that through asking around. So as Claire's stepping down from being, so I would like to suggest that I take that on. And what I'd like to do is review who the coordinators are. Because actually, I'm the coordinator for our group and Roger is for his, but we can actually set a session up for Bray. So there's nothing actually stopping a session being set up apart from the cameras. So hence the request to get all the cameras back into the office will be a good start. Then, if Bray wants to set up a session, I can set it up with the nominated camera that's come back, and you can go ahead and do it. You'd have to give me the data coming back so I can enter it on. But what I will do is review who the coordinators are, and in fact, you're volunteering for Bray, I can get you set up as a coordinator. So you can do that going forward for Bray. Simple. Yeah.
Okay.
Simple.
I think it's true also that the police only really want to deal with 2 coordinators inside a particular area. So it makes kind of sense.
Anna?
On a very, very separate note, because Mrs. Bain is here, one of the messages on our group said that we cannot have sessions, or it suggests slightly, we cannot have sessions because we need to help Oakley Green. No one in Bray, and I'm saying in everyone's name, would like not to have sessions in Oakley Green. We also use those words. And would actually try to need to put those words. And yes, so I would just like to stress, at the end of the day, I know we separate villages, I understand separate groups. We all use the same roads. We do not, it's not a competition. Who should have more, who should have less, who should be more
we can all have sessions. We have all enough volunteers. So it's just, I wanted to clarify, we would support you if you need any help, and I hope we would support us now.
But we all can help each other.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Well, first of all, does it make sense, Joanna, from your point of view, if Lorraine and Roger were the sort of lead coordinators? And that if you wanted to do something in Bray, you would speak to, well, probably to speak to Lorraine.
It's very difficult to speak for the whole village. But yes, as long as Bray is not this, left alone, forgotten place, and we are small, whatever it takes us to have sessions and working, it is a good solution, whatever it is. I'm desperate to have the sessions back.
Okay, sorry, gentlemen, on the other.
I'll get two comments. The first one is related to this. I think, booking a session and running a session is not an issue. I think that can be managed in both of you. I think that's okay. I think what is more important is managing the volunteers. And as you know, it's not always something that everyone can do proactively if you don't know the setup locally. So I guess it's more of a question to both of you, if you want to be involved in that as well. But I'll be happy to lead the coordination of the sessions to both of you, and I'll be absolutely fine, I think.
Okay, so the lady, you.
The question is, if we start what the police need, how much data does the police, and how many sessions do they need? Unspecified. It's up to us.
It's up to the residents.
Yeah.
We can run a session every day.
And that's your point.
Yeah, and we did that like pretty much not any more times. We've done as much.
What happened with the data in the past? What's happened?
Not
Still
on
on
the
the system.
It's entered onto the website.
And the police have done what with the 24 data like they do?
But the challenge is though, and Roger will tell you as well, when you do speed watch, there is a limit either side that you can go. And if there's not that many going over, say, 25 minutes, 30, then there's not a big issue as far as they're concerned.
That's something I'd like to reference. That's fine.
Yeah.
The average attendance rate in Bray is.
So can I make a suggestion here? Sorry. I'm happy to be the point of contact to the police. Thank you to do that. But what I would like to suggest is somebody from each village to have a coordinator. And it makes more sense because you could manage your groups. You manage your groups. I manage mine and Roger manages his, and Green manages theirs, because obviously you've got that relationship. That's important.
Yeah.
Then if there's any issues, I can help or Roger can help. Roger's got far more experience than me. But if once you're set up as coordinators, you can train people how to use the cameras. I mean, so that's the added thing for being a coordinator. There's no other additional except for setting up a session and then putting the data on the system.
And
That is the role.
Getting the volunteers to come and help
Yes.
run the session.
And that's why it's important you have the people from where they live.
Okay, so Barbara, you're the OT Green personally.
Myself and Alison, we have two coordinators,
So you don't need two coordinators, you just need one.
but we have two, which is handy.
Well, all the coordinator has access to the system essentially. don't
Yes, yes.
they? So that doesn't really matter if there's two, as long as they.
Okay, if you share the input between you then. Yeah, okay.
And then in terms of the sort of local contact, Joanna, are you happy to be the local contact?
It's either we live together, no one knows what's going on.
So, sorry. Marek, yes. Okay, so Marek is the coordinator for Bray, Barbara Frame is the coordinator for OT Green.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we've got Levain acting as the coordinator the other way to the police.
Yeah, and Hollyport. I'm Hollyport Green and Roger does Hollyport Road. Yes.
Make it specifically clear that point of contact to the police and with the parish and the person to make sure we all have the data and everything, so
Yeah.
it's Lorraine.
That's what needs to be done.
Yeah,
And then
I think that's where it's got confused.
We've seen nothing, really.
Okay, so just one more, yeah.
Yeah, so there's the other point I wanted to raise, is preemptive points, because I think you'll find out very soon. I think there's a problem with the Sentinel setup, and that Sentinel setup is, people need to be trained, I am, so I can be trained to everyone else.
You would train us.
Yes, although I can't use it. The second thing is, the Sentinel setup comes with a laptop. Now, I don't believe that laptop is council's owned. Claire claimed that this is theirs.
We need to get that checked then, don't we?
So without that, it cannot be used.
Is this, I mean, I don't get, but this Sentinel is one of the 4 sort of units.
Yeah.
It's on a tripod.
It's a clever thing on a tripod, and the people that are operating it, I've never operated, they've been allowed to see it. I've asked several times and I wasn't allowed to be trained. But it does it automatically, the
Yes.
volunteer just look at it.
Absolutely, so you said that, so you just have
Have
it.
an image and.
Yeah, you test it, you ensure that it actually captures the right thing, and it gives you a device, that's why you need the laptop. Once you've set it up, you can leave it for an hour, obviously somewhere nearby, but you can leave it for an hour, ultimately, and it captures all the power.
That's all the information you can.
So what the best thing about it is, best thing about it is it tracks the HGVs. And that again is providing us data to back up us saying to the police, these are how many HGVs, and we've got the equipment, we just need to get trained on it.
Yeah.
Going to reinforce, I raised it about 3 times at council meetings and at both the traffic meetings. I did the online training for this back in April or May. I've never been offered the training. There were all sorts of things there. I do get the Speedwatch data sent to me, so they know I'm there, but I haven't even been contacted. So it's, training is the issue. I'm sure if people are dropping out, we're going to need more volunteers. So, and you said, well, I think it's only the location of cameras where they are, but Bray obviously seems to be backwater as far as it is concerned. And if you look at the data that we've received, I think it came in this week, or perhaps before, the latest for data is that, put a bit of flesh on the bones from what Marek said, is that 2/3 of cars in Bray's speed.
Yeah,
So it's not surprising that at the moment animals, not just domestic animals, but wild animals get quite often killed on the Ludbury Road and on and in the village. And we've got a kindergarten school 5 days a week as well. They tend to do it as well out of it's almost all southbound traffic. They tend to do it out of the rush hour. In rush hour, particularly going northwards. How long is it going to be before a 5-year-old gets knocked over? Because they come out of the village hall. They're often excited. They've sometimes been given presents and parties and things, and the parents often I can see them from my window. They sometimes struggle to keep control of their kids, taking them to the.
Okay, so it sounds as though you need to get yourself a bit more into the Bray group that's running the planned campaigns if you want to be involved in training further or whatever.
Well, yeah, but I've been told that I'll get training, but I never heard anything.
So
He needs to get 1 session when he's being trained. And
yes,
because we had no sessions,
Yes.
he would have a training.
to help him, once Marek becomes a coordinator, Marek can train him. Yes, easy.
Right, so
Set up session.
just a bit of process. We need to do some votes.
Oh.
The first vote I need to organise is basically bringing the SIDS equipment back here. So could I have I'm going to propose to bring it back here. Can I?
Just curious, can we be absolutely clear? Are we talking about SIDS or are we talking about Speedwatch?
Speedwatch.
Speedwatch. You mean Speedwatch?
You mean Speedwatch?
Speedwatch.
Right, okay.
Okay, so seconder and then all those in favour. Right, so that's everybody likes to vote. Okay, now what's the other one?
I would just confirm with both.
Okay, so Louvain has put herself forward to be the coordinator to the police and a sort of more general coordinator.
Liaison officer.
Liaison officer. can we have a proposer for that? Seconder,
I'll second.
seconder, all those in favour of the vote doing that? Okay, and then we've got, Barbara's effectively a volunteer.
Barbara's already, it's adding Marek on as a coordinator.
So Marek and Barbara and who,
Roger.
That Roger's already in.
and Vodka, okay.
Barbara is already, I am already, it's adding Marek onto.
Okay, so, well, we'll just, might as well call the, so effectively that Marek, Barbara and Roger are the local coordinators.
Myself.
Oh, and Elaine,
Yeah.
are local coordinators. So can I have I'll propose that. Bob is seconding it. All those in favour, vote for yourself.
I am explaining.
Right. Well, I thought we'd done that. Apparently we have to do a vote to Claire.
Just to acknowledge.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so formally acknowledge that all the hard work that Claire did.
Yes. Definitely.
So do we need to vote and second it?
No,
So for the record.
yeah, yeah. definitely.
Right. So,
One more question.
yeah,
The Sentinel machine,
Yeah, training.
how and who gonna initiate training on that?
right. Where is Sentinel machine at the moment?
In the parish office, apparently.
And there's a laptop to go with that, who does that belong to?
Yeah.
The question is that.
Yeah, that's the main problem.
Right, so can I ask the parish office to confirm at some stage by email that you have the Sentinel equipment and whether or not you have a laptop that can go with it?
Okay.
Perhaps it actually confirm what training, if it does
Well-
need.
And then Marek is the person that can do the training.
No, he can't. Sentinel has to be trained by professional people,
So I've been trained about,
but I don't think you can actually train us though officially.
no, I've been trained by police and by, so when Claire received her training, I was trained by.
Yeah,
So we've been trained at the same time. When I can deliver training, I have no idea.
I think that just needs to be clarified if that.
Yeah.
Well, who clarifies that?
So the Sentinel owners, whether or not it can be done by volunteers. Yes.
So the parish office has got to contact Sentinel and clarify who can do training on their equipment.
Yes, yeah, I think, yeah, it'd be great if Marek could.
And if Marek, what's your surname?
Contract. Simply,
Oh, contact, okay. So to clarify whether Marek can be the trainer for us.
In other words,
and I think the important thing is, when the laptop is checked, when the laptop exists, I think it's also to check whether the software is on that laptop, because there's a specific, very specific software, actually two types of software there. One is for setting it up, one is for running it. So it needs to be there, if it's not there.
Well, that will presumably come from Sentinel when we bought the kit.
Yeah, but the reason I was first given for not being able to be trained on the Sentinel thing was there's a problem with the software.
Yes, so because I've heard that it's her laptop. She was using this as a sort of a way of saying like there can be any sessions on Sentinel unless I'm there.
Right, we need to break that cycle.
Yes.
So we need the parish office to speak to Sentinel, establish that there's a laptop that we have that we can load the software to both install and run the programs, and then establish whether we can do our own training with Marek.
Yeah.
To speed things up, Nick, or maybe stop them slowing down. Can we, if there's, we find out that someone is using their own laptop, can we, quote for a new one? And, pass it quickly through finance and the main council, so we're not holding up the process.
Okay, I mean, do
If
we
it's
not,
needed.
do we have a spare laptop anywhere in the parish office?
far as I'm aware, we only have this one.
Yeah, I think you'd have to, but if we can't use one that's been used before, I think we would have to buy one. So we want to run that through the process and as quickly as
And you want the
possible.
up-to-date software.
Yeah.
I would second that.
I'm just checking, see if it's.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
should we have a vote that we authorise the clerk to buy a laptop?
You can't do that, can you?
It has to go through finance.
Okay, so
I think
we
it's
raise,
needed.
we get a quote and we put that through the finance group.
Yeah,
If
that's
we-
the way to
we
do it.
Need a, right, so
Keep it that.
vote the parish office does that. Proposer, second over Graham, all those in favour, go through.
Yeah, if it's needed, I think it's again, it's clarification, if it's needed.
Roger,
Please don't take this as criticism of the parish office, but would it make more sense for Marek, who knows something about the central machine and the problems of setting up and that sort of thing, for him to contact the manufacturer to find out how best to progress from where we are?
All right, we can supply email address and if we do together would be on it. So.
well, if you're happy to do it offline together, I think that would be the best way. I think.
Well, yes, yeah, if we exchange contact details, what I'll do is we'll obviously send an email, send some, yes, we'll share information, but I think it'd be important for all the latest CC numbers as well.
Brilliant, thank you, thank you. Yay!
Right,
Can I suggest, I found a website that easily, but they do a number of products, but
Yes.
almost certainly the software will be available.
It's not an easy project, I can tell you that.
They never are.
Brilliant, thank you, Mary. Yay!
okay, so, Roger, what I'm asking, what have you done with all the results? And is there anything you want to tell us about the results you've got? Yes. Or any highlights?
I've done nothing like this so far. I've got a spare copy that I was going to give to this gentleman here.
Right,
But a very quick summary is that Bray Parish have held 18 sessions. They've got 679 offenders, which is an 18% hit rate, because some of the places they do it, like Causeway, they were very low figure. Average offenders per session, 37. Holleyport Road, 20 sessions, average per session, 13. Holleyport Green, 5 sessions, average offenders, 1. And Oakley Green, 13 sessions, average speeders, 4.2. So, okay, we need more machines for Bray, because that's where all the speeders are.
okay, so
Where speeders and Oakley Green go very fast. Whoops. But,
Sadly, they mostly go later in the day when we can't have.
absolutely right. Exactly that.
Yeah.
okay, so where are you going to publish those results?
I will
Anywhere?
do whatever you want.
Okay, so should we keep file on parish
Yeah.
office?
I do an up-to-date one, because we caught an offender on Thursday, so we'll have 2 people.
Includes the,
So we've had 2, so it was pretty.
how about that?
But do we, okay, so do we have a way
23.
of having stuff on the parish office on an electronic system available to councillors that is not available to the public? Because I presume that we wouldn't want this information shared.
I think that is not a private information, I think that really requires.
Oh, absolutely. You just sit on the police website and
Actually, Chairman, a lot of residents
extract.
would really
Yeah.
like to know about that. They know that we're doing something
Well,
and they'll feel.
then, fiddle with the air policy stuff, then we should have a file where we put this information in. Yeah.
And there's public domain.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what website probably can help.
It is.
Well, if we're going to do that sort of thing, then we should, potentially do a press release and highlight to the press.
Why don't you have a look at the data first before you come to that?
Yeah.
My suggestion would be to circulate it to each of the coordinators And Louvain can liaise with the traffic highways and Louvain.
Well, the residents could be there to anything.
Okay.
This isn't going to, yeah, I just want to express this isn't going to be immediate because we've had over our budget season and we've only got the engagement so far. And then we'll, you know, we're not really resourced till the 3rd of January, so just bear with us.
Okay, but would you be able to set up a
A
folder?
lot of this work will be me.
Yeah.
I haven't done that, and I wouldn't do that to you, perfectly understand, it's more me when I'm in.
No,
And to add an additional statistic, because clearly that wasn't added as a section there, but in Bray, next to the village hall, we managed to capture 410 minutes in one session. Out of 760 something times, I don't remember exactly. It was a heat rate of over 50%, above the threshold, and it was 400 cars in a morning session.
It feels like we've got the data to say there's a real concern in Bray. We experience the daily, there is data. As a member of the public, what I'm interested in, what we act on this data to get police interested in helping us. We've got the data and it's a very high offending rate. We have.
okay, comment from Ken?
The traffic and the highways department in the Royal Borough told us a few years ago now, probably 2 or 3, that they don't want to take any notice of what we say, but they're data driven. So the answer is, any data you've got, you can smack we can smack the Royal Borough over the head with it. Whether they suddenly decide they're no longer data driven is a possibility. But at least until we get the data, we can't hit them with it. So let's do it.
She hasn't shared, I don't have permission to share it with all of you yet. I've asked my neighbour who's written it. This is the email she got from the Royal Borough is saying, regarding the chicane session of the High Street Bray and your subsequent request for various traffic calming, in response to your request, this section of Bray is clearly marked the speed limit and vehicles are choosing to exceed. It's not something the council can control. We impose the speed limit, but we cannot enforce it. This is the role for Thames Valley Police, you can request further guidance, and there is a link. Speed cameras are operated and owned by the police, and again, the link about can assist you here. The electronic speed reminder are rotational, and Bray High Street has been added to receive them periodically. The borough receives many requests for additional improvements or provision of street improvements. Unfortunately, the traffic department at present only receives funding to replace the most dangerous worn out existing roads and crossroad markings, and there is currently no funding for any additional improvements as such. To your request to convert this section of the road into one-way only, so they're not taking any
No,
responsibility.
well, we can help by getting some specific information and some data, using our plans, whatever. And it just will need a program and coordinate. So if you work with these guys, we'll get something to happen.
Yeah, I've listened very carefully to this, all this stuff. What do we actually hope to get at the end of this improvement reality?
Well,
I mean, the
we
roads will still be there, but there'll still be the traffic. I mean, it's.
Well, first of all-
data, but what do you actually want? What's the?
well, first of all, if we can actually put the sensible camera up,
Yeah,
at the throat, so it's obviously seen by cars.
yeah.
There'll be a visible sign that things are happening, that there are cameras around. And, if we do that once a quarter or something, there'll be essentially a recognition that there's things are happening and people will take note.
But that as a warning is fine. I mean, that's still, we've got already everybody's.
Well, it's more than we're doing at the moment. So what the borough is saying, the police, the cameras are controlled by police. We actually control some cameras.
We could put some speed calming measures.
I think there's like a number of different things that can happen. And the first thing that can happen, maybe answer that question on what are we planning to get out of this, is first train people that use these roads. When we have seats on both ends of Bray, the traffic wasn't actually that bad. You know, people weren't speeding excessive. There's still people that are trying to prove what they can do, and we ignore it. You still have those individuals, but in general, the traffic is much more. The second thing we can do is we can actually report those individuals to police, and the police have an obligation to do something about it in their offensive already. So there is a way for them to pursue that. Whether they do it or not, I mean, that's a different question. But they have told us that after second offence, they will be issuing letters. And the third thing that we can do is to actually press the council to start thinking about redesigning the layout, redesigning the traffic overall. And those are obviously costly measures. So we need to use all of the previous ones before we go to the council and say, oh yes, let's think about something more heavy. And that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Collect that.
Okay, well, you'll hopefully record it on that system, so we'll log those. Ken?
Just to say, Leo, you want to know what we're trying to achieve? We're going to have something like, I don't know, 2,500 new houses in the area. No improvement on the road network. Perhaps we'd like people to understand that if you put more and more into a pint pot, it overflows, and that's what's going to happen with the traffic.
Absolutely.
And then the whole place gets stopped.
Very, very quickly,
Yeah.
it isn't supposed to, it's supposed to be an education as well. Having them there, I mean, like the jokingly spoke about me holding the camera, the traffic slowed down. It did slow down. So it's an educational thing as well, and not just, it's not just getting those that are speeding.
Okay,
There are included in my report, there are a number of proven, really inexpensive traffic reducing methods, which just involve the installment of a few signs. For instance, if you put a sign saying there are speed cameras, that reduces the traffic even if there aren't. And similarly, empty speed boxes. Now, if the Windsor Maidenhead Council feel that they are unable to fund those, is it a possibility that parish will say, if you agree to do it, the parish will fund them?
yeah, okay.
Speed camera on the Windsor Road has not been used for 12 years.
So it does have a calming effect. The speed, the people who know it, but even, I didn't know that until I joined the council.
They can't, anything, even signs, we need to prove that.
We need to take capacity.
And then on the same note, I remember when we had sessions and I took pictures of the village flowers, poppies for the remembrance, even holding a camera phone like this. We smoked down the traffic, so it's just getting people used to, it's a village in Suffolk.
Okay, right. So, I'd like
Guns, Roger. Can't call them guns.
I'd like for the record to thank all the people doing these sessions and the coordinators for their work. Long may it continue.
We need to keep the volunteers going.
We need to keep the motivation there. Okay, I think we've covered off TH008, which is updates on the speed indicator devices. Unless, does anyone else have anything else to say on speed indicator devices?
So in the past, if I may, it was very unclear and it was discussed last meeting, it's very unclear how they are allocated. Who's deciding where they go? Who is deciding how long they will stay there? Who is deciding where they need it most? And not only there was no input from the councillors, but my understanding is there's very little to none input from the people doing speed watch, who potentially know the most where the devices could go.
Okay,
So
fine. Who does that? Right.
Just to say that following the last meeting, which I've chaired,
yes,
there was a concerted effort by the office to find out where they'd been, where they were going. And as I said, Simone Services were less than transparent. We need someone to sit on that. And actually, I would suggest a meeting with Simone Services face to face and to try and tease this information from
Okay, well, let's take that as an action, but I'll work with the parish office to see if we can set a meeting with some services. Who else would like to be involved in that meeting? Ken, maybe Ken and Joanna and myself, and possibly Lorraine and Chief Brown, but you've got enough to do.
Yeah.
And the objective is to find out how we can influence and establish where the locations of the town.
There are cameras, we're going to put
Yeah.
them.
Right, so TH009 is to receive an update on the air quality monitoring and consider if we should continue. Has everyone noted that we have had an update on the air quality?
Yes.
Does anyone have any input to us in terms of, I'm afraid I haven't looked at it, so I can't say.
just to say, if I can say something, I'd say that we've got some back data on air quality monitoring. We need to go forward. We need to carry on going forward with this. Because once more, it's data to beat over the head of whoever needs it. And once more, we should recall that, the borough had 3 places in the borough where they were monitoring the air quality. Lobbying put them up to something like 5, and we've got how many? 12, 13 in the parish.
Okay, so do we need to vote continue?
Yeah, I just wanted to make, members aware it's quite time consuming, and also it's quite a dangerous activity. Katie at the moment has to go out on very fast traffic roads, and it's quite high up, isn't it? So at the moment it is, Katie that has to do it.
Is that the collection of the tubes?
Pushing them out there as well.
Well, you have to put them out and pick it up again. I understand that Esther had someone doing that for her in the past, so it might be worth a job. Somebody had somebody doing it for them. So it might be worth investigating that if we can try and find out. Who thinks it.
Was it Rich?
I'm doing it with Richard, me and Richard.
Okay, then that's Richard.
Yeah.
We think, apologies, and I don't mean to be rude, we think we need to review once we're putting members of staff at risk, putting it up, because I don't think that's acceptable to do that
And
personally.
if Richard Crucifix is engaged to go round with Katie or someone, Katie would say, well, we need one there, and he can do it.
I'm just saying, if it's in a dangerous place on busy roads, you need to be mindful of the staff doing it, because Richard isn't qualified to do it. We're paying him, he's not doing it for nothing.
I know.
Yeah, that's all, whether or not perhaps some other places could be looked at that are not quite so dangerous.
Well, he is contract out, it's with.
Sorry?
He is contract out, so he.
Yeah.
Unless we're being, deliver the sort of, putting that risk, and he's a professional presumably, so he should be responsible for it.
Can I just ask what is done with this information? Because I remember that the first time I studied one of these reports, I was shocked to see that, in fact, where you live, that junction with the Oakley Greenway is
At the height of the worst one.
worse
Yeah.
in the parish. Borough. And yet, in spite of that, they allowed the AL21 entrance to come out next to Albion and increase the traffic at that point.
Well, we did use
God knows how many.
the information at the panel meeting to try and prevent, the borough basically have argued that the World Health Organization figure of 10 micrograms per cubic meter, or whatever it is not recognised by the UK government. And they are working on a figure of 40 micrograms.
Yeah, 40.
And so 4 times higher. And some of our readings were in the 30s.
36 or something like that.
Yes.
So, if the British government isn't using the World Health Authority figures, it's very difficult for us to use the version. But at some stage, the UK is going to come into line. It's bound to, and therefore this information will be very useful to help us defeat future applications. I'm aware of one application somewhere in Kent that Ian found of a location that was turned down on air quality grounds. So there is case history, if you like, that this can work.
So there's some hope on the horizon there.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? You know, the Labour government might well have, you know, it's a live issue. Sorry, Joanna.
Right, so I'm going to speak as a mother of young children and medical doctor, and someone who lived in one of the most urbanized areas in the whole Europe. And I don't understand what we're talking about, and I've said it before, and we didn't took it forward. I don't understand the system. Around our house, there are 3 sensors, and they both show us on the phone what's the data. And where we're from, around the huge massive city, there are screens that show you what's the data, and regardless of who's saying what level is, you can make then your own decision, whether you need to do something, whether today's safe. I would like to, if I'm permitted, I would like to work with the office to find a different system, because maybe planning on whatever we need to do to get to those ampules, maybe there is a better way of doing this. Maybe there is, and actually I'm telling you, there is a way of doing it, of having it live on the website to tell residents what's going on. And it's not, I don't understand still why we're doing this
Well,
once a month.
We've done this with the Kent
University, yes.
Yeah, who have track record of being one of the top universities who've been monitoring air quality.
Yes.
And we've been doing it this way for, what, 4 years or something like that. I would be very happy to suggest that you have a discussion with the parent.
I think I will find something interesting.
And if there is a slightly better way of doing it, then let's consider that and put a proposal to this committee.
I may offer a suggestion here, because I think what you're saying is correct, but I think there is a difference between general monitoring, which highlights the indication of somewhere getting close to the limit, and actual laboratory proving that that's the amount.
Okay.
So both of those systems have usage in different places.
I mean, the advantage of what we're doing, independently created system. So Kent University do the analysis, and we therefore have that sort of aura of an independent group who is producing this.
That's true, but I think that is very useful for documenting where there's a potential to exceed, or where, you know, there is a need to prove something, where there is a need to monitor and assess whether there is a risk of going over. I think a slightly simpler system, potentially even online system, might be better.
Perfect. Well, either way, I suggest you do a bit of research and then talk to the parish office, and if it's worth putting together a proposal, then we do that for the next meeting. So it'll be in a quarter's time. Right. Final item on here is consider resident concerns for parking on for the doctors and the school on Stratfarm Road. And is that the bit of land between the doctors and the shops, which is sort of barried off?
No, it's not that.
Yes, it
No,
is.
yeah.
Yes, it is. Liz. Yes, it is.
This complaint came from Martin Cox, who lives next door to London, or next door to the doctors. And the whole thing is that traffic round there with school, doctors, cafe, the whole thing is, and parking, that's his problem. My scheme, which is probably a bit too sophisticated, if you like, because I told the Royal Borough about it a few years ago and they didn't grab it. Martin is looking to have white lines painted on the pavement, so that cars that are parking on the pavement, because the road's too narrow, don't completely block the pavement. I'm quite prepared to discuss this further with Martin, or if anybody here wants to take it up, to see exactly what his ideas was and report back.
Yeah.
Why,
Can I just, so I raised this question recently. And the reason I raised it, we had it as a councillor surgery. Martin came and asked, is there anything we can do to ask the doctors to remove the barriers, to allow up parking off the road, because they barriered it by the side? That was his question to me. It wasn't anything else. That was his question to me. I think you very kindly gave a contact name. I haven't done anything because I wasn't sure.
yeah, because I understood that the doctors or the surgery had put those barriers up because, you know, they wanted to keep it clear about potential ambulances or
That's right.
that.
That's right.
But, you know, I don't know how likely it is to be an ambulance there, and it might be much more useful if there's 3 or 4 parking spaces extra created.
Just a little aside, I went to the doctors one time, I got an appointment, which is, luckily, and, it was for 9 o'clock in the morning. So I went into the doctors, and before their television screen login was there, I walked up to reception and went, bloody parking around here is bad, isn't it? And they started laughing. They said, we could tell you've not been here very often because nobody accepts a 9 o'clock appointment here. Because of the school, because of school, it's being taken to school, cafe, shops, the whole thing. The place is a shambles.
That's the answer, really. I go there quite a lot.
Do you accept a 9 o'clock appointment?
I don't. I go at that time about 10:30.
There, well done.
Okay, well,
I never have any progress.
I think the parking on the pavement is actually outside, so it's not where you turn left, it's outside the.
more outside the school.
No, outside the doctors.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Busy time.
But the doctors had a car park and there were almost always spaces in it, so. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't just make that double yellow line and make people go in. I know it's a bit awkward driving in and driving out of the doctor's car park, but they had about 6 spaces there and there's never more than 2 cars.
3 cars in the car park.
So
Right.
ask Nick, you very kindly provided a name of a person in surgery. Could I ask, I'm sorry,
You want me to ring them?
and ask, and just say, look, we've had residents concerned. It would help with the parking if at least there was spaces. And I'm very sure if there was an ambulance required, people would let that happen. But in the meanwhile, what it's causing by them taking off 3 paths, basically parking places.
So it's stuck there.
Yeah. So it's really it's just apply that residents are,
I move them sometimes.
Okay, all right, I'll
But
do
that-
take that action on.
thank you.
Right, the final thing before we finish, there was a consider motion from councillor Eggington. Proposed to form a working group to create a consistent, detailed and parish-wide strategy and objectives for the challenges ahead. The resulting document would be intended as input to the overall Bray Parish Plan. So as far as I understand it, we have a strategy group. Or the working group which considers detailed, you know, consistent parish-wide strategies.
That's right.
So I don't think we need another group particularly, but do you want to just say why you felt that we needed it?
Well, I think everything we talked about, almost every single item on this agenda, we're basically saying it is clear that there is an overall traffic and highway specific issue in parish-wide. I think it's, we have this problem, we have a lot of problems of being very reactive and, for instance, so the speed limits on, for instance, when the Hollyport roundabout was renewed, the set, and the speed limit reduced throughout, on the Windsor Road. there is now a sort of art, so, and we're attacking, hitting at those things peacefully, and now we're sort of trying to get that bit reduced to 30 as well. And, you know, when people are driving, if you keep having bits at one speed and then bits at another, you know, and as someone who's driven on the East Lancs, I know how confusing it can be and how easy it is for people to speed. We'll be left with about 100 metre stretch on the Upper Ray Road that's supported. So I think we should be considering the thing as a whole. We're doing the new parish neighbourhood plan. I've spoken to Mike. He thinks it's quite important to include traffic. Whether the borough think that we have any powers to do about it is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. We can have a plan as to what we want to see happen, whether or not we have any powers to enforce it, and then we can do what we can.
Okay, well, I know we haven't sort of discussed it, but there is a sort of list of jobs that Suzanne has left us. And I know at different stages there's been a more considered list of problem junctions and various things that we see. What I will try and do over the next quarter is pull together a sort of list of all the various things, and then we can have that and discuss that, whether there's enough to create a strategy of action, but it might help us prioritise the things that we're trying to do.
But that's exactly what I took. A list of individual things as a higher level plan that is specific to traffic, which must be one of the major. I mean, it's clear from our residents, from the non-council members of this committee, that there is an issue, and they're not consistent. You know, you've got different speed limits all over the place. We have different approaches to different villages within the parish.
That's
Can I make a suggestion? Can I make a suggestion? And I did say to Steve, I provided Steve all the local neighbourhood plans that are going on. This is, in my view, a requirement when we get together for the neighbourhood plan. Because once we start doing the consultation going forward, it will include looking at bits. Because the old plan we've got at the moment is old. And obviously things have changed, as policies changed, etc., etc. So I think it would be good to have people looking at the transport side who are interested within the neighbourhood plan working group, rather than having lots and lots of different groups. We need to consolidate all the ideas together to get what's a plan for all the parish. And agree, yeah, Borough might ignore it, but at least we put it in writing, and the consultant will actually say at that time as well whether or not what we're asking for is reasonable. So, I mean, we've got to be accepting to the fact some things they'll say that we can't have. So
the process of going through that, you know, would identify sections of roads which have got different speeds on it, which would be useful for us.
Yeah.
We're going to be lobbying to get those changed, whatever. Anyway, sorry.
When the Bray Parish Council started the last neighbourhood plan, they formed a steering group, of which 1 or 2 people here were on that steering group. Roger, Leo, okay. Now, they formed a subcommittee was formed. I wasn't part of the steering group for the neighbourhood plan, but I was interested in traffic, and a subgroup was formed to look at traffic, and we looked at it from globally almost, like having a link from the M40 through the M4 to the M3, which was part of the motorway box that the government thought about
8-9
a few years ago. In the end, the Royal Borough got so frightened of this that they said, "Oh no, we don't want you to look at traffic. Is that right? We don't want you to look at traffic." And they got so frightened of houses that at one point they said, "We're not going to give you any housing targets." So it should be done because it's necessary. And if the borough ignores it, then we shout it from the rooftops.
Okay. All right. So we'll consider that as part of the key plan.
No, I think so. I think that's nonsense. What are we here for, the traffic committee? Yeah, this is, we're doing it something. I'm suggesting that we do it as something that we contribute to the neighbourhood plan, and that they then review what we've done.
Okay.
I think we should do it as a special affair. I think maybe all the committees should. Otherwise, we're basically just talking shop.
Well, I think we're a little bit more than a talk shop. There's quite a lot of actions that have been.
I know, but we need to have something in this direction as to where we're going.
Okay.
Rather than, you're basically saying, we're the traffic committee, but we're going to say, neighbourhood plan people will make all the.
Look,
Yeah,
we will be.
It's all of us.
It's all of us.
It's not, all we're doing at the moment is seeing what we need to do to move it forward. We have to know what we need to do. Then, as I said at the last planning meeting, then we will open up to the councils and residents to join whatever needs to be done. And then that's when the traffic can come in. Because we need to look at what is
the wrong way round. I think we should
We've
be
already
putting
done
out.
work. We've already done work on the neighbourhood plan. We're not going to want to do things again. We take what's already been done and then expand it to what's needed. Don't you think that makes sense?
No, I think we should do it bottom up, not top down.
So this, Ken said he worked long hours, did lots of work on
But he
it.
worked
So you just-
within traffic, didn't he?
Yeah, within traffic, within the neighbourhood plan.
That subcommittee, traffic subcommittee was taken by the member that was on the steering committee to the steering committee. And the steering committee were told by the Royal Borough, nah, don't do that,
Well, yeah.
because they were frightened of it.
Yeah, so that's fine, but we still need to do it. We still need to do it. And to me, it is the best place to do it.
Okay, look, so let's pause on this, because I think we've got to finish the meeting now. It's a good point you make. But let's wait until we have the next, the neighbourhood planning group, get working groups established, and then we'll decide whether we need a strategy document, or whether it will be part of one of the working groups from the plan. And then we'll give a pause at that. Okay, so
I've got to get back from a meeting.
we're going to close the meeting now. Thank you all for coming. There's a few actions. Hopefully the minutes will pick up the points that people have made. Thank you very much.
Thank you.